Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 67 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choit. What's up? If you're new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, often comedians and other artists, about their lives and careers. It's casual conversation, but I also ask everyone to highlight someone they love, someone who they admire, who influenced them, inspired them, or supported them. For more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is peoplewelovepodcast. And you can find me on Instagram as well, Adam Choit, my name, if you want to follow me too. And remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. So, today's guest is comedian and actor Neel Ghosh. Originally from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, he recalls his days excelling in elementary school and listening to inappropriate comedy CDs at night, being soothed by the crowd's laughter on the recordings. Neel loves lots of things: his family, his friends, basketball, comedy, and we cover it all. But he especially takes the time to tell me all about his dad, CG, which is what dad goes by to white people. And CG is just a good dude who actually one time literally saved Neel's life. We gotta just get started. Here's Neel Ghosh. Sweet, so I'll do an intro, right? Put together intro, outro later. And then I'll say something like, so it's good to see you today, Neel Ghosh. Thank you for joining me on the Skype.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. How you holding up during the apocalypse here?
Is this really going? Or did you start?
Yeah. I always do. You know what I do? Because sometimes I do that. I explain what the intro is going to be, and then everyone assumes that's it. So then I'm just like, all right, I'll just do that instead of like.
This is the perfect start.
Yeah, no, we can just. I can either edit that or leave it.
No, man, this is great. This is great. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. So tell me, how are you doing? Which I'm interested in during this craziness that's going on right now.
Well, Adam, I think we first need to we need to let the listeners know. This is the first time we've ever met.
No, we've met, but the first time. But this is the first time we've had conversation. We haven't really
met. Truly.
Right. That's true. You've
come to the show before, right?
I've seen you perform, and we've met in passing. But this is the first time we've had like an actual, I think, conversation that's longer than a sentence or two. That's true.
Dude, amazing. Yeah, amazing. Yeah,
the internet.
So this is exciting times.
I'm glad you're excited.
Oh man. So just to describe how comfortable Adam looks, this is like the most comfortable podcast episode.
I feel like you look more comfortable than me. You're in bed. I don't want to entice the listeners too much, but you look.
Dude, get them, dude. Just imagine this. I'm in bed. I have so many pillows behind me, like an old English. Young lass.
You look kind of either you're in high or in pain, or like you're a little bit of both. Maybe you're like dealing with some you have back pain.
Wow, that's actually really crazy. I've got quad pain. Wow, you got an eye, dude.
You look like somebody who just likes oh, I'm gonna relax and smoke some weed or do other, and then relax and my back or whatever it is.
That is in my purview most days.
And you got a headboard there too, which is important for people to know.
Man. Yeah, man. I'm living.
That's legit. That's important. I've seen a comedian, I forget, a female comedian talk about, I don't remember who it was, how it's important for guys to have headboards.
Yeah, I think it's just important for everybody. But
it's an adult thing to own.
Yeah, I guess so. I never thought of it as like a step forward. I need to address my privilege. I think I've had a headboard my entire life.
Oh, wow. Look at you. You're living the life even during
the foils of capitalism.
Even during these tough times. Yeah. You're living it up. Well, speaking of living and your life, why don't we get into it? And you could tell me about your birth and childhood, and why don't we start from
birth
and driving home from the hospital
was painless.
For you or your mom or both?
Yeah. Painless for her. I just slipped out like some Jello.
Sweet.
It was pretty wild. You know that movie Flubber? It was
Yeah, I
like
know.
Flubber.
I haven't seen it, but yeah, I know of what Flubber. I can picture Flubber. It's blue. Is it
Flubber
blue?
figures.
Is Flubber
Green.
green? I knew it was
Green.
like
Yeah, Flubber
close.
green.
You can't make green without blue. So I was almost got it right.
Oh, good. That's hilarious. I was born on December 11th, 1992, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at St. Luke's Hospital, and that's my story.
Wow, that's quite a story. And what about when they took you home from the hospital? What do you remember from the early years? Maybe 2, 3, 4. Most people don't remember anything at 2 years old, but a few guests claim to.
Let's see. 4.
What are your earliest memories?
Yeah. Okay, here I got one. I can't remember how old I was. I was old enough to walk, but I was outside on our little deck. We had a deck in our backyard, and I found a penny and I swallowed the penny, and I was like choking on the penny. And so I run inside. My dad's sitting on the couch, and he's just chilling. He's talking to like a business person, like, I don't know, some associate. And I'm like miming that I'm choking on the penny, you know.
Were you really choking, or were you like sort of, you swallowed it and you were like you were panicking, or you literally couldn't breathe?
Swallowed it and I was choking on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my dad, he looks at me and very calmly, without breaking a sentence to the guy he's talking to, just opens my mouth and sticks 2 fingers in and just pulls it out.
Wait a minute. How did he know that you even swallowed it? A penny, or he was like watching you or something? Like what?
I mimed to him.
Oh, yeah. The miming.
Yeah, so my dad, dude, it's crazy. That's the earliest memory. And then he gave me the penny back in a boss move. He handed me the penny. He said, "You fuck if you mess this up again."
Wow, I think. You know, you said when you were born in the hospital, that was the end of the story. But really, I think we just really covered a lot just in that one story about your dad and how he cares about you, but also how he kind of trusts you, maybe even to a fault.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting angle. Yeah, I think it's a lesson in like how flimsy life is. You know, he just handed it back. He's kind of like, it's in your control now to cause.
Yeah. And did he say anything to you? Because you were 4, so you would probably understand. You know, you're gonna understand. Did he say?
I don't remember him saying anything.
Yeah, he didn't say don't eat this penny. He would say.
No, he just handed it back to me.
Yeah, sometimes my parents, they wouldn't explain the lessons. They would just be like, "You learn your lesson now." They would say something like that.
Yeah.
Be like, the lesson was clear what it was. I guess in that case.
Do you have a earliest memory that?
Do I have an earliest memory?
Yeah.
I don't know what my earliest memory would be, but I've stuck things in orifices that shouldn't have been stuck in as well.
Whoa! We talking ears or butt?
What's up?
We talking ears, nose, butt?
We are talking nose. I stuck I must have been maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6, probably 4 or 5.
And you
put like a bead, like you make like plastic jewelry on like a string out of like little arts and crafts kind of beads. And I think I stuck one of those up my nose, and it was up there for a while. And I think they took me to the doctor, and I think the doctor just said it would come out. It wasn't up very far or something like that.
Really?
So then I think I remember I was doing like gymnastics or something, and then it was like coming all the way out. And then I think my parents helped me like pull it out. In the end.
So this is the only award you're going to go with.
Yeah, they didn't let me keep the bead though, I guess. Or maybe they did.
I like how your doctor, it sounds like your doctor was my dad.
Yeah, maybe. Is your dad a doctor?
He is.
He doesn't work in New York, does he?
He'll be fine.
He probably works in Iowa. Yeah, I don't have any other stories about sticking things where they... No, I guess I do. I do have stories about sticking things where they shouldn't go, but not like in the vein that we're describing in the current moment.
Oh man, I have so many questions, but I don't want to push.
Oh no. Well, tell me about your next memories. Do you have and your life? Do you have siblings?
Next memory, life, siblings. I do have a sibling. I have an older sister.
What's her name?
Tanaya. She is 29. She lives in Denver.
And what is your dad's name?
CG. That's what he tells. That's what we tell white people his name is.
That's fine. I mean, if he goes by it,
we have to. Yeah.
Yeah, I could put like his name and then in quotes CG, or something like that. We could do.
Dude, I kind of like the anonymity of this man.
Yeah, no, I've done all the. At some point, I just use the first name, the last name, a nickname, whatever. I do, I go with the flow.
Yeah, dude. Do you have like a? I guess Neel isn't that crazy too, like a Starbucks name. But my dad says like Chris or CG at Starbucks.
No, they usually get my name right.
Adam, it's literally the first name ever.
And it's like in the alphabet too. It's like usually the first alphabetically.
It was God's first name.
And what's maybe the most tragic thing about it is that I don't really go to Starbucks that much. Maybe I should go more just so I can
just bask in it, man.
Get a name on my cup right. But people love I think people love when they they butcher the names. The people who get their names butchered, fucking make a whole photo album on. Yeah, they love it. They make like a photo album of all the different versions of a misspelling of an ethnic name.
Dude, I actually one time at a Panera. Oh, this is fast forwarding a lot, but
that's okay. We'll get back.
Sophomore year of college at a Panera, my receipt name, somebody wrote nail, something you hammer into a wall.
Yeah. That's
so weird. That was interesting. That's a wild one.
That might be bad penmanship also.
I told him my name was Nail. I mean, I'm sorry. I told him my name was Neil. And then they typed out Nail.
Yeah.
On the little receipt. That's the worst I've ever received.
I hope you recovered from this traumatic event.
I did take a picture of it though. That was why I
You lived to talk about it.
Yeah.
You survived.
This is every day. And I just tell the story while I'm walking.
That's cool. But your first memory is your dad saving your life, which is pretty incredible and very calmly.
The memory I thought of right now, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the first. I can't imagine. I mean, I guess people could.
It's for sure, dude. It is one of my earliest memories. Yeah, that is nice. Yeah, that probably develops such a strong bond.
I imagine so.
Dude fucking saves your life. Your doctor saves your life.
Yeah.
That's it. The whole thing.
Does he bring that up ever, your dad? Does he be like, remember the time that you were choking?
Yeah. He holds it over my head.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, dude. Every time I ask for anything.
Really?
He's like, well, remember, you wouldn't even be here. And I say, all right.
Yeah.
I guess I don't need a PlayStation 2.
Did you ever get the PlayStation 2?
Of course, man. That's why you got your mom.
Yeah, sweet. Balance. Have that balance. What about like elementary school? What was that like for you? What kind of kid were you?
Oh, man.
Were you a good student? What were you into?
Great student. Fantastic student.
That sounds sarcastic, but I believe you. So I'm not sure, I guess. Just
objective by whatever realm they were measuring in the public school system, which I believe was developed to like train people enough to know how to farm.
Yeah, you're saying you excelled in the Iowa public school system. That's what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah, but I think there's something I was reading. The public education system federally is so kind of the word I'm thinking of now is antique. Like it's such an old school of thought.
You're preaching to the choir, my friend, just so you know.
The training, it's like it's just wild. I don't know. It was to help people become farmers. So like I was able to do that, but then once you get into the real world, things get a lot more complicated. But
did you grow up on a farm?
No. It was like suburbs.
Yeah.
just general suburbans. Well, where are you from, by the way?
Long Island, New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why?
Wow.
Why? Wow.
No, it's just Long Island. There's that certain I don't even know what to call it, man.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's very suburban as well. There's a lot of like the way it's designed and set up is very similar to the Midwest, like the city that I grew up in.
Yeah, in the sense, it's a lot of Long Island is just a lot of suburban towns, one right after the other, and it's just kind of
way more people.
I think there's 3 million people or 4 million people on Long Island itself.
Were you from Plainview?
Am I from Plainview? Close, Dix Hills. Used to live in East Meadow. Well, you know Long Island? How do you know Long Island if you're from Iowa and live in Los Angeles?
One of my best friends from Plainview.
Are you from Plainview? His name's one.
It's just the funniest name, bro.
Yo, you got within about 5 miles or so, maybe less. You got close.
Yeah, how big? The island's like what, 6 miles?
No, it's like 90 miles.
It's
like 100 miles or something from one end to the other, maybe more. I don't know.
Named.
I went out to the East End once every 17 years. But forget what's out there. You're one of the guests who wants to know about me and wants to. You have a podcast and you interview a lot of people. You're just a curious person.
Like I said, it's first real conversation we had. So
you're getting to know me.
This isn't to the benefit of the podcast at all.
Yeah. I gather that. We're just having casual conversation. No, I know that what's out there. There's a lighthouse on the at lighthouses and beaches. Wow. The Hamptons.
Yeah, of course there is.
Paul McCartney never invited me to his house. Yeah. Puff Daddy didn't invite me to his July. I said Paul McCartney forgot to invite me to his parties out in the Hamptons.
Dude, did you ever go out there as a kid?
I played baseball out there against their schools, but that's about it. I didn't really spend time out there.
Dude, yeah, you hear about that place. It's like celebrity Narnia. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
what's out there, man? Puff Daddy and Paul McCartney live next to each other.
Yeah, probably.
Only in the Hamptons, dog.
Yeah,
only in the Hamptons.
I guess so. But you were a good student in elementary school.
Oh yeah. Yes, I was.
What were you?
Good grades. I mean, parents pushed me. I did the whole kind of immigrant mentality. You just got to work twice as hard as everybody to be equal, kind of shit.
So your parents were immigrants.
Yeah, you didn't put that together?
No.
I guess that's fair. All I said was my dad was a doctor.
I mean, I could have guessed. If you would have gun to my head, would you have said, do you think Neel's parents are immigrants based on the information you have? I would have been like, maybe. I don't know. Your dad's name doesn't say John on his birth certificate. I know that. So there's a good chance. That's
true. That is a giveaway. No, I could be like a fourth generation. There's multi-generation Indian families, especially out in Long Island.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is there a big Indian population, immigrant population in Iowa or around there?
I mean, I would say there was probably a group of like 20 or 30 people.
Yeah.
And so we'd see each other, maybe once or twice a year at like gatherings and shit. I mean, there were people that were more involved in that community, but it was like, 30 people.
So how does your family end up in Iowa?
My dad took a job was available there.
Gotcha.
And so he just took it. America doesn't exactly roll out the red carpet.
Yeah. I gather. But at least he got a job. And you grew up there from like birth till high school till all your life? Cool.
Born through 18, man. Iowa, man.
What were you into in elementary school besides like getting good grades? Were you into comedy or cartoons or?
Dude, I was into so I'd always kind of played music. My parents started me on violin when I was like 4, and when you're a kid, you don't really like it, but you just do it. And so I was always kind of interested in like performance in general. So I remember like in third grade you would have to write and then you would have to share in like community circle or whatever the fuck. And I loved when I had my day to read because I had written like some weird story. Like I don't even remember about what, but it was just so fun to do the voices and like, the school just got like a speaker system installed. It had one of those like Sham Wow guy mics, like come across the ear. It just has a little bowl in front. And dude, I loved having that mic. It's crazy, man.
What did you use that mic for? Did you say what did you use that type of mic for? It was for your presentation?
Yeah, in like third grade we would do like weekly, like you would share like your journal entries and shit. You like write stories and stuff like that.
And you're mic'd when you do this? Why the kids are like?
Yeah, the teacher had a mic at our school
to make the kids louder, I guess, or something. I guess so. The kids, because kids are quiet. I guess because kids can have quiet voices. They mumble. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Because
it sounds
weird.
Yeah, because I'm picturing like a bunch of kids. Looks like you guys are like giving TED Talks or something. Like I don't know, elementary school kids giving TED Talks.
Yeah. How many Teddy Grahams is too many to trade?
Is that what your papers or your present? Do you remember what your presentations were about at all?
It was basically just this
show and tell
story that I had written with like these characters and like some plot. I don't know. It was like funny. Like mainly the voices were funny. Like one guy was this, I think like an old kind of like mean professor, and then he had like a foil sidekick who was just like stupid and like didn't really understand how serious things were.
Yeah. Intricate stuff.
Very, very, very high concept material. I mean, this is Blumhouse level stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's cool though. It sounds like you knew who you were already in elementary school. You liked the music, you liked performing, you liked comedy. Even if you weren't able to articulate in your head, it sounded like who you were was rounding into form already.
Man, I mean, and I mean, that's such a small snippet of your life when you're in third grade, because you are just like running around and you're just focused on 8-year-old shit. But in hindsight, looking back, it's like, yeah, third grade, those types of things kind of like at least allowed me to be comfortable with the idea of performing.
Yeah. What about after that? What about after elementary school? Did school get harder? Because a lot of people do say that academically things can get more challenging after 5th, 6th grade or whatever.
Yeah. I'll tell you when math ended for me. Dude, I was like, when before high school, I was like super solid at math, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. What you're about to say,
way through, bro. And then when they started talking about shapes in geometry, and like you have to prove these theorems that already exist about this shape, and like why is this angle with it? No, that was it. That was it for me. I don't need to prove your shit. It's already proven. Like that was the end game for math for me. I remember I loved math up until then. I was like, I'm done. And so I kind of like half-assed math all the way through, like the rest of high school.
It's frustrating for me, when you don't see the practical use of something you're learning. Or if it's not interesting. If it's not interesting to me, I don't understand it. And if it's not practical, if you got those things going on, like the math thing I tuned out of math. It got to be too many formulas, trigonometry, all the stuff you're describing and the proofs.
Yeah, dude, way too much. Yeah. Way too much info. Yeah, so that was that for me. That's interesting. We had the same. I mean, that's when you go from farm to the office building. That's how they weed out those people.
And what about other interests, when you're 10, 11, 12 kind of years old, around that time?
Bro, man, I mean, just like real basic shit. I love basketball. I mean, I still love basketball. But yeah, I was just hooping.
Did you play organized? Did you play organized sports at all?
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
or at
Y
school?
League, and then to AAU,
Nice.
and then high school. I stopped in high school too, man.
Because you, well, we'll get to it, but why did you stop? Just because you were not?
I was doing, I had just done my first musical the year before in middle school, and when high school came around, it was like, okay, do I want to keep committing time to sports and this musical stuff slash the music that I was already doing with violin, and then at that point I'd started playing saxophone too.
Nice.
But it was just like, yeah, how do I want to commit my time?
Were you good enough to pursue basketball at JV varsity level or beyond even, you think?
I think my skill was there, bro, but like the tenacity and like dedication to having your body right.
Yeah.
I just didn't have that. I just did not have that.
Did you ever see that documentary about the dude who was like amazing high school player, like the same year LeBron was a high school player?
No.
I forget the player. Lenny, was it Lenny Cook was his name maybe? I forget. But there's this it's a pretty good documentary about this dude who just like, he was very talented, same like year as LeBron, high rated nationally, but didn't have the right attitude about like, training and practicing and all that, and that's like what derailed him.
Dude, that's what's so amazing about all these players.
Dude, you would love this documentary because you see like you see young Carmelo, you see like young LeBron, like you see like the main guy like loafing around or like not taking it seriously, and then you can like see Carmelo in the background, like how like serious young Carmelo is, and the other guys like
that's really wild, man.
There, Lenny Cook, I think is his name. Yeah,
those guys are something special, dude. Like to have that mental edge to also to you know what I mean? Like really dedicate your fucking body and mind to like the sport.
Yeah, because talent will only get you so far. Like, maybe Carmelo and LeBron James are probably still gonna be in the NBA if they didn't work as hard as they did.
I don't know.
Maybe not, and like maybe they wouldn't even be. Maybe they wouldn't be stars. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, man. Excellence is like a consistency thing.
Yeah.
Like your consistency breeds excellence. That's what they say. You see the same thing with like really great comedians and writers and artists and the people that commit their fucking, you know what I mean?
Right. No, I do.
They're like their body and their mind to a thing. It's just like, yeah, it's very cool.
But it sounds like you were committing to performing at like middle school. You got into to theater and musicals, you said, and deep diving into more music. So tell me about that journey. Because fuck geometry.
God, dude, just was it angle, side angle? Oh my God, get the fuck out!
Saxophone
of here,
is better.
Yeah, but geometric in its own way, and I didn't have to prove it.
Right, music is mathematics as well.
A lot, dude. Music theory, and that's actually what what fucked me over in my music learning was the theory aspect of it. It's so mathematical, man. Once you really start studying it. Yeah. All right, do you play anything?
I play guitar and I used to play trumpet.
Dude, so there's a math and formula and sequencing to every single piece of music, every note. It's like fuck, it gets really complicated.
Yeah.
It gets really complicated.
We just want to impress women, I think, with our musical playing. Isn't that pretty much the whole point of music? Isn't that why a guy first started playing music in the first place?
What,
unless a woman first picked up. If a woman was the first musician, then she did it for the pure joy.
Yeah, exactly. True love of the game. That's why the WNBA is better than the NBA.
Maybe.
They really love the game. They love it. No. That was the reason I started doing musicals, though, was to hang out with girls.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's it.
But you stayed because you must have enjoyed it, because there's only so much misery one person can put themselves through.
dude, luckily I was just fine enough to continue to want to do it. But like there came a threshold where because like we are still in Iowa, so I remember like when Fiddler on the Roof comes around, like at the community theater, like I didn't get in the cast, surprise. Um, but when they did like Aida, hell yeah, man, I was in there. So
So you were doing
yeah,
community theater and kind of school theater, high school theater as well?
yeah. We had this great community theater in Cedar Rapids called Theater Cedar Rapids, and it was just the guy that directed our middle school play musical was like, "Hey, you should come down and do this at Theater Cedar Rapids. We're like come audition," and then just did auditions, man. And it was a community, man. It was cool. It was cool. Got to do musicals and stuff.
What did your dad and your family and friends think of you performing? Did they
But
come out? Did they come out and see you?
Yeah, totally, totally. People were there. A lot of support. It was great. It was great.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, those were really fun times. Yeah, and then that just kind of, fed the performance thing. And then after high school, I went to college to study jazz saxophone. So that was the route I kind of went with.
Where did you go to study jazz saxophone?
University of Southern California.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And did you get in on like
jazz program?
Yeah, did you get in on like a scholarship? Did you have to audition? Was that like your major, like music from the beginning?
Yeah, you know what, bro? I think towards the end, when you go to college, you're kind of like figuring out, you're a little bit kind of thinking what you want to do.
You were undeclared, you're saying, at the beginning, when you went to first USC, when you enrolled?
No. I guess what I'm trying to say is I had thought I wanted to do medicine. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just go to med school, like my dad, up until the summer of my senior year going into freshman year of college. I'm sorry, junior year going into senior year.
Of college?
No, of high school.
High school, yeah.
High school. And I went to this jazz camp, which was really dope. And I was like, dude, I'm going to go to college to study jazz. And that was my senior year, was focusing on like sending tapes in and getting auditions and like kind of that. I was like, this is how I'll go to college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I auditioned. You send a tape into USC and then they have you come out and you audition in front of the faculty. And it was cool, man. Like it was cool. It was just, I didn't really like USC itself as a school, never, but I thought that I wanted to go there because it was like the only school that took me outside of Iowa.
That accepted you, but you applied to a bunch of schools outside of Iowa, but that was the only one that you got into?
Exactly. I'd say when you say a bunch, I probably applied to like 5-6 different schools. Yeah. Outside of the state. So yeah, man. And so I was just like, whatever, like, fuck it up. When I get there, I'll figure it out. And what ended up happening was there's just like a huge shift from growing up, first of all, college is like a crazy transition in general.
Sure.
But then that paired with like being so far away from my family, and I had just shit went down. There was like a bunch of ego death that happened, like being at USC in a good program, like the jazz studies thing, and all that's to say, like I transferred out of USC, and I went to Emory in Atlanta. And
that is far from Los Angeles. That's not where I thought this story was going. But
yeah,
because you're in Los Angeles right now, so I'm like, okay, we're gonna make our way back at some point, I'm sure.
We do, sir.
Yeah. Okay, Emory in Atlanta.
We do. But
what did your dad think
yes,
of all this that was happening?
Bro, man, I'm so lucky, dude. I mean, my dad, he would challenge me on stuff, but if I really wanted to do something, he would like support it and figure out the best way to help me. Do
great.
it. Yeah. Really fucking lucky. Good dude. Good fucking dude. You know?
Yeah.
Just a good man. But yeah. So Emory was my junior and senior year. Um, I Man, that was when I started doing comedy and did improv. Started doing stand up in Atlanta, which is a fucking great scene to start doing any sort of comedy in.
What led you into down this path into comedy and improv and whatnot? Obviously, you had experience performing and loved it, but what pushed you into at this point in your life?
You know, it's interesting. I'd listened to stand up all the time growing up. This is actually kind of funny. My mom, when we would go to Target, and she would just like, if I would point at an album or something, she would just like give it to me, and she didn't know what explicit content labels were. You know, so I was listening to like Chris Rock, and Adam Sandler had an album out back then. Jerry Seinfeld, Jeff Foxworthy, like all these random cats, and I would listen to them like just going to sleep from like the age of 8 to probably 18. I would just like be listening to comedy, and then like eventually that led me to find like Chappelle and Carlin and Hedgeberg and like all the fucking greats, man. That's why I always really loved it.
You must not even. I was gonna say you could not have understood half of those jokes or most of the jokes when you're 8 years old.
No idea, but I remember the laughter being very soothing. Yeah.
This is all making sense. This is all making sense to me.
Oh yeah.
I'm putting all the puzzle pieces together, and that was a big piece maybe right there.
That's a big old piece.
And your dad clearly didn't either know about this or really think it mattered or care or...
Yeah, dude. When he comes home, he's not like, "Oh, what is he listening to?" Going to sleep. He's just like, "I'm tired."
Right. But as a kid,
you're alive. Okay, good.
Yeah. I have to go to work tomorrow. I'm focusing on that, eating dinner, and then just doing the same thing again tomorrow.
Exactly, man. But no, there was never any sort of pushback.
That's
from
funny.
My parents.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. And they had no idea. I mean, they definitely didn't have any idea. I mean, they still, when they come to, I think they figured it out now, but like the first few comedy shows, they're kind of, you know, it's such a weird cultural thing because they don't have stand-up comedy in India, at least back then. They do now. It's a huge scene now, but back then I don't think they did. So like, you know, I remember my parents just like looking around at everyone while they're laughing, like, what? They laughed at that. Like, there's nothing funny about that. You know?
Nothing was funny. That was the issue. It's not that it's a weird setting for people to laugh, and it's that you're not being funny. That was the problem. That's what was awkward for them.
Yeah, it's in the hack. Yeah.
Oh man, wow. But why don't you tell me?
He's doing an avocado bit.
I was gonna ask, why don't you tell me about like do you remember the first time you did stand up? Was it at in Atlanta?
Sure. Yes. So this was at SC actually, my freshman year.
Oh, at USC you did.
My high school sweetheart, and I had broken up. She had broken up with me. I was devastated. So I remember I was like, you know what? They have this open mic at this place called Ground Zero on campus. They have these good milkshakes. And I was like, I'm gonna write out 5 minutes. Wrote out every single word. Memorize that shit. Over and memorize.
Was this about her?
No.
But this triggered you to do this because you wanted to just
I was just like, fuck it, I have nothing else to lose.
You're like the fifth guest that's like, I went through a breakup and then I had to go get into comedy again or started or something, transition back into comedy.
Yeah, man. It's such a potent, you know, you're exposed, you're vulnerable, and there's some piece inside of you that's like, all right, fuck it. And then you run one more time back out there to get just shot up. You know, it's like the end of Training Day. You know, after Denzel gets like beat up in the neighborhood, he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go on a drive. And then he gets murked by the Russians. That's the stand-up comedian. It's like, I know these Russians are after me, I'm gonna go drive out and just get shot.
Oh man. So tell me about that. Speaking of, tell me about the 5 minutes you said you wrote out every single word.
Yeah, I just memorized it and I went up and did it. And I remember like a few friends came and they were laughing and like,
That's good.
man, it was fine. It wasn't spectacular, but I got off being like, oh, and this comes from my music background. It's kind of like, you do concerts and shit, and you realize like, oh, you just have to perform again and again and again to get better at it. Do you want to get better at this? And honestly, man, at that point, I didn't do any more stand up. I started doing improv at Groundlings. Um, and it was cool, man, but it was just like this. I don't know. I was 18 when I was doing Groundlings, and I felt like such a cool part of the class was like everybody hanging out after.
Yeah.
But I couldn't fucking hang out because all the places around there are like bars.
Yeah, this is all in L, and you're in LA at this point.
This is LA.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, this fucking sucks. And like, Groundlings is like uber competitive. I didn't know what UCB was. No, I didn't know that there was. I honestly didn't even know that there was a improv troupe at USC. There's like a big comedy scene at USC, but I just had no idea. I just knew about the open mics. So yeah, when I went to Atlanta, man, I was like, okay, is there like a college? Can I just get reps in? You know what I mean? Like with low stakes. And so found this, Emory has this great college improv troupe called Rathskeller. It's the oldest improv troupe in America.
Damn.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. And, dude, I luckily got into that. And that was my 2 years there. Was just in that, man, just doing improv in Atlanta. And it was like, ugh, it was everything. It gave me the gall to be like, all right, now I can go back out to LA and like really give it a shot.
What were you studying at Emory? Did you have a major or anything like that?
I was film studies and business, and then I dropped business because I would have to have stayed for another year to finish it.
Yeah. You want to get to LA.
Just give me the degree so we have like the picture or whatever, and get the fuck out.
And you wanted to come to LA to do comedy and act? Is that kind of like what the goals were?
Yes. Those were the goals.
Yo, that's cool.
Yeah, man. And just start doing stand up and like, it's just been it's a fucking process,
You came to LA right after Emory?
After graduating, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, tell me about that. You said you were just going into it, telling me about the process.
Yeah. Well, you said you were a writer, correct? So you understand, like, it's just you develop a system, and then you repeat that system at like the highest fucking caliber clip that you can.
Basically, yeah.
You just keep going and going. But the really fascinating part about and this is a difference between athletes and artists. Like the mind has to be. It does for athletes. Don't get me wrong, but like if you can, maybe you can physically overcome your mental. If you know what I mean. If like the reward for your craft is like is associated like with your physical athleticism or something. Right, like here's a better way to explain.
Adrenaline helps an athlete more than it helps an artist because and you can find the strength to keep going physically, but once you're shot mentally from whatever or emotionally as an artist, you can't force yourself to continue to produce in the same way an athlete might. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes and no. I think like if Shaq like played a game and he was like depressed or anxious or like whatever, right? Just his insane physical prowess could allow him to get the satisfaction, and then maybe put his mind in a better place, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for an artist, it's like I do stand-up comedy. There's, I guess the equivalent would be like going to a mic and just like riffing and getting some laughs. But like, it's not, if you're sad, like that is your art is expressed through that. Whereas basketball, it's like, does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I'm curious more about that. Like, so yeah, I mean, I haven't thought too much about that, but I have had the thought like this comedian has to perform tonight, but like maybe some horrible thing, not even horrible, but just like they're having a tough day, like, but you have to be funny. Like how often over the years have you had that like issue? I'm not judging. I'm just like curious. I'm sure it's something all comedians deal with, like when you're just not in a right frame of mind to perform and you have to anyway.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's honestly like one of the harder aspects of it. It's like, because there is an element of every comedian where you do want to be like real and present and in the moment, and like, if you're not feeling great, to be able to address that and like still have it fold into your material or something, right? And that comes out in a variety of ways, like tone of performance, like actual jokes themselves, or it's just like a vibe. You can sense when somebody, it's not hard. You can sense when somebody's up there and they're just like
distracted.
Okay, like I don't know exactly what my voice is yet up here. So like you can still see like the human behind it. Because professionals, they have an act down,
Sure.
And they have this persona that they have, and like the quicker you capture that, the quicker you're able to just probably work through that stuff.
Right.
But
because it's a performance too, so you get into that zone. But it must be hard if like the performance itself or the act is a certain tone and the way the comedian is feeling in that moment is the complete opposite. That must be something hard to deal with.
Yeah. The only way I can think of dealing with it when I'm in those headspaces of just like, you just do your job.
Yeah.
Which isn't like great, but like you have to, especially when you have a show where people are paying money to see you. Like you gotta just show up and do it, man. Like you gotta do whatever you gotta do to get through that shit. I mean, that's why a lot of comedians are, they have vices. I definitely have my own, and like it is the kind of just tone down that
right
maybe other thing that's bothering you or whatever.
I hear you, man. What else do you remember about like the early days of LA? Which I'm guessing is probably not that long ago, because you're
no, man. I'm only four in.
Yeah, you're a young man.
Yeah, at least in the comedy game for sure. But yeah, dude, it was honestly, I feel like I'd honestly just before this pandemic shit hit, I feel like I'd just gotten to a point where I was like really enjoying like writing jokes and performing those jokes. I think the first 3 years for sure, were just like, yo, how do I get on stage and talk into a microphone in a way that's coherent, and like thoughts that I had written down earlier, being able to say them out loud in a way that like, you know what I mean? You really, I mean, I'm an overthinker for sure, but like there's a lot that kind of goes into it. Like, how do you say each word? How do you deliver?
No, I know. I believe
punchlines, and how do you make all of that unique to who you are? And there's a lot of people who get it really quick, man. And like, but most people, it takes a long amount of time. 10 years you see sometimes, and some people even after that. So, yeah, it's the early days were just definitely just like trial and error, and like you figure it out. You figure out like you're good 15, and then you're like, okay, how do I always keep kind of focusing on that and beefing it up and being able to weave different bits back into it, and you just expand it.
Yeah. How many minutes do you have right now? How many minutes could you do?
Probably confidently. I don't know. I haven't had that many opportunities to do longer sets because that's just not a thing in LA.
I gather.
Yeah. But I would say I've done an hour before.
Wow.
And it was
cool.
like but it wasn't like coherent or like a show. You know what I mean? It was like a person telling jokes for an hour, but it wasn't connected. Yeah. Or had any sort of theme or anything.
It was riffing with the crowd too.
Oh yes, dude. Yeah. About 15 minutes, 20 minutes was riffing with the crowd.
Yeah,
bro. Yeah,
but
I think now.
But honestly, just to do that and survive it and get laughs is impressive. Even if it's not like a perfect pitch, perfectly articulated 1 hour on paper.
Right.
Just
it's the same.
Do that is something.
Yeah, it's the same as like you know, eventually if you do it enough times, it's the same. It becomes the same as doing a 7 minute set or a 3 minute set. It's like just your muscle gets bigger and bigger. But that is yeah, that is a weird thing that like I noticed a lot when I was starting out. Like people in that are starting out, like you really focus with like how much time can I do. There's like this huge thing like how much time can I do, when it's just like, just focus on the next joke.
Right.
You just, you know what I mean? Just stay excited about the next joke that you're working on the next bit, and like the time shit will. When you are asked to do an hour, then you can evaluate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I it's the same thing with music. I immediately thought of music because I'm actually like trying to learn how to sing a little bit too. And when I sing a song, like I'll sing it okay, but I'm better when I'm taking it line by line and trying to sing each syllable, take each vowel, focus on each one, get each line perfect. When I'm playing guitar, learn how to play the riff slowly, perfect, before you play it quickly and play the whole section of the solo or whatever it is.
Exactly it, bro. It's exactly it. It's the same. It's the same mentality. I mean, yeah, and that's actually where I take a lot of comfort in, like, try not to be so hard on myself, hard enough on myself to like keep pushing me forward every day, but not so hard to like try to rush the process, because for me, like musical instruments, probably took me like 10 years of playing saxophone to like start feel like I was expressing myself through saxophone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You know what? For me, I feel like it's hard to, because you're putting in the work, and I feel like I'm putting in work on my end on various projects also, and you know what to work on, you know how to work, you know where you want to go, but you also know that it's also going to take X amount of hours and time. So it's almost like just being patient with yourself. Do you feel a little bit of that too?
Yeah, man. I mean, it ideally it excites you.
That too. Both.
That like trying to figure that out, there is some joy to that. Hopefully, obviously there are moments where it's not so great, but even those, you try to like focus them and figure out like what's good about,
those moments where you see tangible growth, I think, is what makes it worth it. And when you see tangible results, whether it's playing the right note or getting the audience to laugh at a joke.
Man, yeah, dude. And you get those small victories along the way. Like I remember, the Comedy Store is a potluck mic on Mondays, and like I used to go when I first started, and I would just watch. I would never sign up to do it. And then probably in the last year, I started signing up, and I got up once and it went all right. And the second time I went up, man, it went really, really well. And it was just like, there was a moment within I think the 2 or 3 minutes that they give you, where I had a 3 minutes that I knew, I just knew every beat of it, knew exactly how the thing went, knew how to close all of it. And I was on stage and I had a little kind of thought of like, yo, I'm doing well at the Comedy Store, at Potluck, on the original room stage. And like, that's dope, But it comes through all those like bombing at mics, fucking driving to shows and having panic attacks, and you know what I mean. It's just like all those moments kind of add up to those small victories. Exactly like you're saying, man. Exactly like you're saying.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Are you able to stay present when you're? You are, but are you? I guess I'm asking. Are you able to stay present when you're like, sort of, I guess, celebrating the moment in the moment, like having that sort of out of body almost experience? Are you able to stay focused on the task at hand, or it's just it's second nature at that point?
Yeah, there is kind of. I honestly hadn't really thought back on it until this conversation, to be fully honest.
Sure.
I hadn't really ever thought like, yo, that's cool that went well. And I remember having a moment and thinking, this is going really well. But it wasn't like, okay, so let's like ditch the plan. It's like still okay, but like it's going well, but like also, when you're doing well, you know you're doing well. And so it's just like, all right, just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's pretty much the conversation because I've done some like guitar open mics and stuff like that. And when you're kind of when you're not messing up and it's going okay enough or going well, that's what you tell yourself. This is going well. Keep going.
You're in the pocket.
That's it. You're not thinking, oh, this is amazing, blah, blah, blah. You're not having a whole conversation about it. You're just like, no. It's more like, this is going well. It's like, this is going good. Keep going. That's what you're hearing in your head.
That's it. Just stick the landing. You know how you've done this 1,000 times, and just stick it, man. And with music too, the crowd has to be, there is this symbiotic kind of, give and take between the crowd and the performer.
Man, no doubt.
The performer gives, the crowd gives, everybody wins. Yeah,
man. What about what does your family and your dad think about your LA life? What do they make of all this?
As they've always been, they're supportive, and like I am doing as much as I can to get like a job in entertainment of some sort, like like writing specs and like get the original pilot and like voiceover work and fucking commercial auditions and like I'm trying to do all those things to kind of like show them that there's like an ability to make money. It's really fucking hard, but there is a way to make money to be able to sustain yourself out here.
Working and surviving and being here and pursuing, I think, your passions is what matters most. If you're surviving and you're keep going in what it is that you love, just what more could you ask for? I guess.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, you could ask for a lot more, but that's a good start.
No, that's dude. I mean, that's really all we need. It's just that thing, And we're, I think too, and that's what's been really crazy about this whole lockdown situation or shutdown that we're in is like. It created such a void for so many people, as far as like stand-ups go. Like,
yeah, yep.
You really start to kind of miss something I realized I really miss is like the smaller kind of interactions that you have at like a show or at the club or whatever, like between comedians that you kind of know, but it's like kind of more cordial. But they're always really fun and it's light and it's like cool. It's like, or just dapping somebody, like you miss those things, man. And like the sum of those interactions, while they don't seem like super important in the moment, it's like they really, for me anyway, they provide this really nice fucking, I don't even know what. It's like community.
Yeah, no, you're describing kind of like our sort of like how we've interacted, like just seeing each other in passing in shows. Oh, I'll follow you on Instagram and check out what you're posting. Then I'll go see you again, and then I'll message you and be like, oh, you want to be on the podcast? And then you're down, and then like and now I'm getting to know you, and vice versa. So that's like
exactly.
We're still trying. We're trying. We're using the technology to keep what do you call it? Humanity going.
Humanity is going through Zoom.
What are your I mean, I guess a lot of plans must be on hold, but what are you working on these days, working towards? Yeah,
man.
Anything new?
Man, been reading more, been writing consistently. I mean, I haven't written a ton of stand-up. I've written jokes and like been filming some sketches with a buddy of mine and started a podcast with another friend of mine. So like, it's like putting stuff together. A lot of stuff that like I, for the longest time was like I'll get around to it later. Like just digital, like thumbprint kind of shit. So like, just I put out like 2 stand-up videos and I have some more that I'm going to put out, like, just stuff like that.
What about keep getting like the reps, like you're saying, and the chops and all this stuff? Do you feel like that's suffering, that you're not able to get in front of an audience? How are you dealing with that? How are comedians dealing with like not being able to perform in front of audiences? I know they're virtual shows and things like that, but it's just not the same without an audience.
Dude, I mean, I know a lot of really good comedians that have done virtual shows and they said it's good, and like not for me. I don't think I'd be a super fan of it just because maybe my joke writing isn't good enough, but I super rely on like people's reaction.
Right.
To like either be like, okay, let's talk about how shitty that was, or like let's keep going.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's a crutch. I would say that's comedy. You can't have comedy without an audience. You can't have stand-up comedy without an audience.
Right. But there's some cats, that are just funny. They're just funny to look at and hear them talk and shit.
That's
so
true.
Those folks, I totally understand. If you just undeniably funny. Simon Gibson? I'm like thinking of Simon Gibson for some reason.
Maybe.
He's this LA guy. You gotta check him out. He's just somebody just undeniably funny. Man, and his act is just fucking off the walls, fucking crazy, and it's the best. I could watch that through a phone. I don't know if I could watch me through a phone. I guess that's really what this is all coming down to.
Yeah, I think maybe a year from now I'll check in. 2 years from now, and then we'll have a conversation either on a podcast or in person or whatever. And you'll tell me, I'm phone watchable now. I feel confident enough. I'm good. Blah whatever. Blah blah blah. I'm a phone watchable comic now.
I guess. I hope comedy is back by then.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, man. But they're doing virtual shows. I know some people are like getting into different hustles. One of my homies is like skateboarding now. I think Tommy Wakefield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Tommy. He's fucking bad. He's like been posting stories of him trying to learn how to like skateboard, which is hilarious.
But there's no way to get reps. There's no
replacement, man. There's no replacement.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing podcasts. I mean, it's a natural kind of
digital content, streaming, all this stuff. That's all we can do.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting to see if there are any long-term effects of this. Like, if people that work office jobs, those businesses decide to have more employees work from home.
I think that's going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah. So like
for the foreseeable future, as much as possible. Right.
I was reading this. I think it was Washington Post, but there's an article kind of in that line, and it was like, what will happen to the value of office buildings? And I was like, I never even thought of the value of office buildings.
Yeah, let's buy one when they go down in price.
Buy a BOGO on the office buildings?
Yeah, buy low. Buy low on
buy low.
Buy low on commercial real estate.
Dude, that's sweeping in, dude. But yeah, it's I think other creative endeavors, you just gotta try to keep your mind occupied, man. I hope everybody's doing okay mentally. Yeah. Like that void is deep, man. It's a deep void.
Yeah, I mean, the time for self-reflection always has some value, but how much self-reflecting do we need to do?
Right, before there's like too many mirrors around you.
Yeah, I'm done reflecting. I've done all the reflecting I need. Anyway, I appreciate your time. I don't want to take up too much more of it.
Man, how long have we been rolling for?
About an hour or so.
Wow.
How long does it feel like?
I would say like 40 minutes, honestly. It felt like
at least you're in the ballpark. At least you didn't say 3 hours or 10 minutes. Then I would have been like, oh man, I'll have whatever he's having. Well, why don't you?
I appreciate it, bro.
Oh, for real. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, follow you, anything else you're working on, and I'll give you the floor to do your thing.
Who's like a big fan of the show? Do you know anyone specific?
Yeah, my mom sometimes listens.
Oh man, what's your mom's name?
Marion.
Marion, listen here. If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Neel.Ghosh, Neel.Ghosh. You have a magnificent son, Marion. But you already know this. You're a bad bitch. You've known it since the beginning. You raised a good little boy. Was it Dix Mason?
Dix Hills.
Damn it. Yeah, Dix Mason. That's a whole different thing. I was thinking of the
Mason-Dixon line.
Mason-Dixon line, yeah. But yes, Marion, I love you. Follow me on Instagram. And anyone else listening.
That was wonderful. That was great. Again, I appreciate your time. And hopefully I'll see you on a stage doing comedy. I'll see you in 2021, basically.
That's the perfect ending to this.
Yeah. So there you have it. My conversation with Neel Ghosh. That was a lot of fun. And it was pretty funny when the dude started interviewing me. For real, I again thank Neel for his time and enjoyed hearing all about his dad and much, much more. Anyway, for everything about this show, of course head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. And I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Stay healthy, stay safe. I hope to see other humans again out in the real world soon enough. Thanks again as always, and let's talk soon. Peace.